the sky comes down on me. When the stars are shining brightly in the silver sky, I'll make a wish on back to heaven and make you want to fly. There's so joy for all the pleasures and the certainty. Around it, wide of comforts and the captain of the highest power that lead me out. Please devour you. I wanna stand with you on a mountain. Yes, I do, Spirit. Stay with you in the sea. Let's do it, Spirit. I wanna lay like this forever until the sky falls down on me. Oh, can't you see it, Spirit? Don't have to close your eyes. I'm standing right there for you. You'll get to me and it'll truly do. This is a song between me and Spirit. Let it be a song between you and Spirit. You and Spirit want to stand on a mountain together. You want to bathe in the sea. I'll be your whim, I'll be your wish, I'll be your fantasy. I'll be your hope, I'll be your love, be everything that you need. More with every breath to me, madly, deeply do. Maybe this is from Spirit singing to you. Stand with you on a mountain. Spirit wants to stand with you on a mountain. Let's bathe with you in the sea. Spirit wants to bathe in the sea with you. Lay like this forever until the sky falls down on me. I wanna stand with you on a mountain. I wanna bathe with you in the sea. I wanna bathe in the sea with you, Rashidi. Hell yeah. We wanna live like this forever, right? Sky falls down on me. Now, it may not be the same situation. It may not be the same sea. It may not even be the same mountain. However, that's what Spirit loves to do, is to live right through us, as us, and for us, and will give us everything we need if we but believe. We tend to negate it a lot. For myself, I needed that 24-hour period to myself, with Rashini, to really process and kind of get my vibe, you could say, back. I had that beautiful share and well, I shared yesterday, and oh yes, and actually both me and this gorgeous sister took 24, 36 hours, whatever you want to call it, kind of to ourselves, and just kind of like taking a day off in a way. Well, now my day off was, Rashini doesn't understand a day off, so you know, that's dogs for you, and that takes me back to the dog house. You know, no matter what, there's those responsibilities. Doesn't matter if you're puking your brains out, you know, puke into a dog bowl and keep working the dogs. You know, keep taking care of them. The animals. You know, being a steward, it's a full-time job. So anyway, we go down to the park, and he didn't even really want to walk. He just wanted to go down to the park and sniff around and get his bit of wind therapy and get me out there, you could say. We made like a half of a walk around. It was almost like he recognized, this is your last day of rest before you really move into boot camp. Of course, I didn't, I kind of understood I was moving into a boot camp, but yet it was kind of like, it's not quite there yet. The energy's just not quite, it's not moving me there yet. Well, there was a reason. So we come back and we sent a message to an Iron Pony, fellow veteran, wonderful soul, that we were, you know, if here's the time frame that I can show up. And of course, he jumped on it right away. So we get there, and this, well, he claimed to be a destitute veteran, but can put Vietnam veteran at that. However, I was like, you know, hey, sir, I don't carry cash. He's like, do you have any change? I said, sir, I don't carry any change, nothing like that on me. And he's like, well, you know, he asked me how fast my bike would go, and I said, I don't know, I think about 20 miles an hour. And he's like, oh, I can't do that on this thing. It's like one of those skateboard electric things that you hold on to. And so then he's proceeded, oh, I see your rings. And I could see that he had cash in his hand. And he's like, oh, I'll buy one of those rings from you for $5. And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, and then asked me another question or two. But I said, sir, because he started getting closer, I said, sir, please back it up. I said, I tell you what, I says, you're a veteran. I says, you can get assistance right down here at NCHP. They're just a block away. And he's like, but I can't prove my status. And I said, they can figure it out for you. He says, nobody's been able to prove it. And I says, well, then I don't know what else to share with you, sir. I says, but I have, you know, I just need you to back away from the bike a little bit, please. And I said, I'm waiting on somebody. And right then I heard the motorcycle, and I'm like, and here he is now. And so then he proceeded to roll up to him, and they were talking in Spanish. And then the gentleman that owns the motorcycle, the Iron Pony, handed him a little bit of cash, and he could tell I was kind of in this, you know, like, thank you, thank you, thank you, you know. I said I was just getting ready. I said that was perfect timing. So he's like, you have a little bit of PTSD, huh? And I says, yes, sir, I do. And he's like, don't call me sir. He says, I was in the Navy. And he says, what branch were you in? You know, we get to talking, and I'm looking around the motorcycle, and he's showing me a little bit about the motorcycle, and he could tell that I said, oh, she's belt driven. I says, I had a shaft driven. You know, so we're talking and conversing with each other, and we could kind of feel how each other and what we're negotiating here is very authentic, very authentic. We're not trying to pull wool over each other's eyes or anything like that. And he had this whole like 27 point, you know, the big inspection done on her. And of course I'm looking at the tires going, I know I'm going to change those tires because I know the tires that I like. However, so then it proceeded, okay, well, let me have have a seat on her. And it was like, oh, yes, I could feel her vibe right then and there. It's like, yeah. Then it came to moving this thing, and she's a V-Star. She's a little bit bigger at 1300. I've done an 1100. And of course, then he shares with me that he also has a Road King. And I says, well, that was the other big bike that I used to ride. You know, I said, that's when I did the 50 states on, you know, and I keep walking around. He's showing me the bags and this and that. And I'm like, but I've never had one that has the fairing on it, right? So he's like, it's a little bit different. And I said, and he goes, and how long has it been since you've ridden? I said, since November. And I said, you know, and I kind of went through a little bit of a period with my health. And so I said, I'm really starting to bounce back. And he goes, here, shake this hand. And he goes, and he about broke my hand. and he goes, does that feel like the hand of a stroke victim? And I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah, if I would have listened to the doctors. And so he's like, I too am, you know, coming back forward. And he goes, but I can only keep one bike, so one of them's got to go. And I says, well, what I know about the Harleys is they're a lot more expensive and to repair, and I had to wear platforms in order to touch the ground when I had the Road King, like 6-inch platforms that I created, and even went so far as to try to patent them. However, because I got a lot of compliments on them, and so I'm like, so he's giving me some pointers and so forth, and he's like, just take her slow. So I go to see if I could even back her up, you know, gotta be able to move her around a little bit. I was able to back her up. He's like, well, you did better than I did. And I says, well, I've been doing my squats. And so we go on from there, and I start to take off, and I'm like, yeah, this really is different. He goes, just don't let it get ahead of you. And he says, you've got to lean a little more into the turns and not quite, you know, so forth, and take them a lot slower and whatnots. And so I said, well, I'm not going far. I says, you've got my dog here. I says, I'm just gonna go around the parking lot. I says, I know I'm not ready to take her out on the street yet. I know better than that. I says, I am quite aware of my limitations, and I try to work with them. So I started taking off, and there was still a whole lot of gravel and whatnot, and I'm going, and because I had already had the adrenaline rush of this gentleman approaching me, I could tell that I was already in kind of a what do they call that? The cortisol depletion pace. And so there was a little bit of that in there. And you could say at my weakest point, so to speak, I got her and took her around the parking lot, and I'm like, I got this, I got this, I got this. I don't have it right away. However, we do our negotiating, what, you know, handshake, fellow veteran, fellow rider, and all in the up and up, and we took snapshots of each other's driver's license, and it's like, you know, this is a done deal. And so, of course, then I shared with him, I said, well, you're gonna have to deliver her to me, and, you know, we'll get her parked, and I says, and I can take it from there and begin building myself back up to, you know, working with her, and so that there's plenty of time. But for me also, even if this, you know, not so, like, so maybe I just really totally can't handle it. If that's the case, at least it is giving me something to work towards. It's part of my soul, and it is what I had seen initially in my very first vision, yes, I saw myself traveling with the e-bike, but obviously we're doing that traveling, and we're, you know, going down to the river and around town and cruising around, and we have that. Great. And then there's I saw us traveling in a whole, like in a limo. This motorcycle is a limo to me. It's like the limo version. And so, and yet it's still a V-Star. And, you know, she's, you know, I can move her and get her up and the whole 9 yards. Now she falls, that might be another story. You know, you do the backward squat and keep trying to roll her up, or go. So anyway, that was so smooth, so pure, so right, and feels right to my soul. It's me. It's me. And so then from there, it was, okay, it's time for boot camp. So I start working some of my exercises and so forth. And then I got this clear. Okay, now you've got the oomph, and you've got the computer ready, and you've got the Starlink ready, and you've got your 2 projects in line. Now you have a time, kind of like a time limit, and you know, just different things like that. And I've got all my gifts over here, and tomorrow we're gonna drop off the donations to the Humane Society thrift shop, and I've got my homework laid out for me. And it's been an awesome vacation, so to speak, if you want to call it a vacation. And processing and doing these sheddings of the layers and so forth. And so the other piece is this amazing space that I have come to with what I was processing yesterday around ceremony, talking circles, what works for me. And I found myself literally bawling my eyes out. Not out of sadness, but out of so much gratitude and joy and beauty around this fire family and my grandmothers. Even more so because we all know that each one of us is different. We all know that we all have baggage and stuff. We all know that we are working it. And we also know that nothing is truly personal. And so we love each other for exactly who we are. Exactly who we are. And we're not trying to change each other. Now, yes, our sometimes, you know, those trigger things come up, but we all know that we are working them and that it's, you know, it's It's not the truth of who we are. So when I host the way I host. It works for me. It's who I am. And when others host, it's who they are. And it's always perfect and beautiful. It's when we pick up a judgment or or something like that, you know. I had a sister share with me, she says, you know, we know when we pick up the talking stick a second time, or we come blurting in, we know that we're irritating the crap out of you. And I'm like, it's not so much that is what irritates me, it's when I can feel where that picking up second time is coming from, whether it's we call it the ego, from our stuff, wanting to whatever, prove something or make a point or whatever, and then, you know, or is this coming from a pause and an urgent from the heart that this needs to be shared? Ooh, the energy's totally different. And so I recognize my intolerance to the brain stuff, you know, the whatever. I don't even have a term for it. Maybe I don't want to put a term to it and just allow that to go. I know when I do it, and then it makes me want to apologize for, like, oh, I'm so sorry, my ego stepped in. I'm using that word because I don't have another term right now. But, you know, it's like, oh, my ego started to step in. Oh, or I was speaking from my ego. And, or responding or reacting is usually a reaction versus a response. The heart responds. Things emerge where the ego is, I've got to find another term for that. I must find another term for that. I need to ask for another term for that. Because the ego is a good thing. It really is a good thing. Anyway, so Rashini, I was speaking with a sister who is doing some travels and wanted to chit chat for a little while, and so we're doing some sharing, and of course Rashini's like, it's pool time, so of course I had to go get into the pool and take him over there, and he gets a couple little snacks, and that's his little potty break. It's got some shade and so forth. Unlike the little doggy spot or trying to find it, you know, the sidewalks and so forth. And yes, he has his booties, but he pants so much more when he's got those on. So it's great for an emergency, but not if needed. Not if it's not necessary. So he didn't know what to think, sitting on Garuda going, where did she go? It was so cute. It was so cute. So I get back, and one more time I got the message. I was resisting letting go of this particular coat. But I heard one more time, pull some of these items out. I didn't actually open the bag. So it was pull out the bag, and you know that coat must go. It holds some no longer needed energy. my emblem off the back, and it came off like so smooth. And before, there's been times where I've tried to make it happen, and like, I'm letting this shit go. No, this time it was just like, and I'm like, whoa, okay, absolutely. So, yeah. And then went through the bag and reassessed supplies and what needs to be released, what needs to be stuffed in, what needs to be let go, what I need to pull out to use as I begin my training, so to speak, begin the boot camp. And yeah, it's exciting. So I know we are heading into the full moon tonight, the blood moon tonight. And oh, she was so big and beautiful. Oh my gosh, she was so big and beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. And I know I'm hosting tomorrow, so I listened to a lot of Sadhguru today. Tried to find some African elders, African elders, or even a Australian elder, since those are like a part of my soul. I had asked my dad, he's not able to make it. But that took me into listening to a lot of Sadhguru today, and also listening to the planetary alignments, conjunctions, and so that was really cool and really helped with the vibe as well, and going through all of the different, the actual little bag that's like my, anyway. So processing through all of that, and it's not an escape. It's not like I need to get this bike, and of course I've never done an escape. And this is what is so different about me, you could say, as a backwards girl. Yes, there were times where it was like, I knew it was like, okay, my time here is done, it's time to go. Everything feels really complete. However, for me, I spent 2 years awakening, the first awakening onto my spiritual path, learning to stand up, so to speak, and speak my voice and claim my energy and who I am with my ex-husband. Spent a year in practitioner study and living the dream of the doghouse in a really, really good way. And then I left. So I found myself and had to leave. It's not, I'm leaving so I can find myself. No, that's not the way it works for me. And I get taken and put in places, and this is another pattern I've kind of noticed over my peregrinations, is I was placed in places where it was like, okay, here's the pile of shit, or here is the complete space of boxes, you know, the place is just covered in boxes, or totally disorganized. Ma'am, you help us get a good, better place. You get us help us get a world-class hospital, or will you help us build a houseless shelter, or those kinds of things. And so it's like walking in the muck and the mud and reinventing it, or putting order and whatever, or sacredity to it, or, because I always start with ceremony, and that's kind of the number one thing is, I will watch for and observe for a period of time, and then I take a week or a period of time and kind of like, okay, here's the game plan. And then it always starts with ceremony. And then there's the ceremony, and then there's ceremony every day, at least for me. Whether you choose to join, that's up to you, unless it's a spiritual boot camp, which you're actually asking me for, to put you through it. Of course, I have my disclaimers. There's going to be periods of times where you are not going to like me. You are going to want to bitch slap me. You're not going to like me. And then there's other times where you're going to be like, oh my God. And the same is true, because I'm right there in it with you every step of the way. And so this is what has taken place over and over and over again. And so then when it's the ceremony, when what is needed to be done or created is complete, then it's I hand it over to you, and I move on to the next thing, wherever Spirit sends me. So for me, it's not about running away. It's not about, trying to escape something. That's what most people see when they see, certain types of nomadics. So I'm here working a spiritual, or I'm here basically for myself. It was time for just me, and we were all being called to that, every single one of us, during this period of time. I remember doing a ceremony for myself on the Little Sugar Creek, and I felt like, everyone needs to be doing this. And so I turned it in for, I think it was the 22 grandmothers or the 8th fire. And I wasn't able to get on, but I heard from a couple of the other grandmothers. They're like, oh yeah, it was played and it was absolutely perfect and beautiful, and it synchronized with every other woman on the call. Every single one of us, 99% of us, had the same calling, that it is time to stop the outside and go inward and really love ourselves and do ceremony for ourselves for a little while. That's self-care, that taking a look at everything, and then holding each other in that space. And so that had taken place, and then sure enough, landing here. And yes, there's ceremony every morning with the Fire family. However, the ceremony with the Fire family is, we're connecting with the energies of the day, we're connecting with the planetary alignments and the gene keys and the transits and the Mayan calendar of the day and of the week, and holding each other in that space. And so it's been just absolutely amazing and beautiful. And of course, I've created these drawings and stuff, which I I knew I was going to be writing a book, but I didn't know it was this one. So and I didn't write it, I just did the drawings every day and had fun with it. And it turns out that we're like creating something as a family now, as a circle, as a family, with all of these. So we'll see what they turn out to be, see what it turns We shall see what it turns out to be. And then I have my 2 projects. So one of the projects stemmed out of all of this, and the other one is a project that Spirit has seeded and said when the time is, it's just going to come pouring out of me into the computer. And I just felt it. The time has come. And so I'm excited. And on many different levels. Now, with that being said, we'll see what the next layers are going to be, because it's also my understanding that the eclipse, this blood moon, these transits, conjunctions, whatnots, we are primed for what you call a second awakening. I don't know, I think this is like my 3rd or 4th awakening. We were always in the process of awakening. But like a kind of this, who are you if you can't recognize, I can't remember the exact question, who are you when you can't recognize your surroundings type of thing. Environment. And so there's like these seed plantings and this, are you accepting and stepping through this door? Well, yes, I am. I'm like jumping personally. And then in 8 days, there's, let's see. I'm not going to pretend to know what it is. Isn't that part of the excitement of life? Is letting things unfold and seeing where it carries us and where it takes us and what we get to experience, whether it's anger, grief, joy, harmony, bliss, sadness. It is. So with that, I'm going to do my best to wind down here and get a good night's sleep. I don't know. It's an eclipse night, right? And so that I can jump with 2 feet into what I'm being called. So may you jump in with your 2 feet and do what's being called through you. Hey, hey.